In my last review, we took a look at the Game Boy Advance game Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards. Based on the popular anime series and trading card game that I grew up with, Sacred Cards completely butchered the rules of the game and is so poorly designed that it's incredibly boring to play. It was essentially just a bland RPG, and it wasn't even a good bland RPG. In other words, it sucks. So now let's play a real Yu-Gi-Oh! Game that's modeled after the actual card game, Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship Tournament 2004. But before we get started, it occurs to me that it might be helpful for me to just kind of go over the basics of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, so non-duelists can watch this video and have some idea of what the hell I'm talking about. Each player starts with 8,000 life points, and the duel ends when a player runs out of cards in their deck or when their life points hit 0. The primary way to get your opponent's life points to 0 is to summon monsters to battle with. You can summon one monster each turn, and if the monster has more than 4 level stars on it, you may have to sacrifice monsters already on the field to summon it. Each monster has a certain number of attack points and defense points, and when two monsters battle, the monsters with fewer points is destroyed. Monsters in attack mode can launch attacks, and monsters in defense mode can't attack, but you don't lose life points if they're destroyed. To supplement your monsters, you've got spell cards, which have an infinite variety of effects to build strategies around, and trap cards, which you place face down and activate later, usually in response to some action your opponent takes. That's the bare basics of the game, and unless you want me to talk about turn phases, counter traps, ritual monsters, quick play spells, or effect chains, that's all I'm going to tell you. Now let's get to the game. World Championship Tournament 2004 doesn't have a story campaign of any kind. Instead, you just select an opponent from a menu and boom, you're dueling. This isn't a bad way to structure the game, but why should I keep playing when there's no story campaign that I'm trying to finish? There's nothing that I'm trying to complete. Anyway, you start the game with 5 duelists to fight. Tristan, who sucks balls, Bakura, who sucks balls, Taya, who looks cute but otherwise sucks balls, Grandpa, who for some reason is named Truesdale even though his name was Solomon in the show, and Yugi, who's a cheating bastard for reasons we'll get into later. Once you beat all of them 5 times, you unlock the level 2 duelists. Rex, who sucks balls, Weevil, who, that bit is getting old. All of the level 2 duelists suck also, except for Mako, because he uses some good combos with Legendary Ocean and Tornado Wall, which prevents you from being able to damage his life points. Now you're probably asking yourself, what exactly is it that causes so many of the game's duelists to suck balls? Well, I'll tell you. Taya does nothing except use cards that increase her life points. She doesn't do anything to actually try to defeat you. Tristan, Bakura, and Yugi and the level 2 duelists, their decks are not built around a strategy. Each of their decks is just a pile of generic mismatched monsters, monsters that don't have any special abilities, monsters that aren't particularly strong, monsters that have no use, and that stack of random monsters is supplemented by a few basic general use spell and trap cards. The opponent's decks are designed to summon basic monsters, spam you with destruction effects, and that's it! That's all the strategy these first 10 duelists use, with a few exceptions. You know, I have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game for the Nintendo DS called Stardust Accelerator. Awesome game, by the way, and that game really showcases what about Yu-Gi-Oh! Makes it so fun. It's the wide variety of decks that you can assemble to incorporate any strategy that you want, provided that you have the cards to pull it off. It's about building a deck that suits you, testing that deck against a variety of opponents with tons of different strategies, and honing and perfecting your deck until you can take on gradually stronger opponents, and dueling doesn't get old because there's such a great variety of opponents to duel and strategies to combat, and an endless supply of strategies for you to test out. In World Championship Tournament 2004, none of the decks are built around strategies. Every enemy's deck is just a generic pile of monsters and spells, to the point that I honestly couldn't tell you the difference between Weevil's deck and Rex Raptor's deck. Okay, fine, Weevil has a few man-eater bugs and his monsters are mostly insect types, but the tactics, the spells and traps, the uses of their monsters, all exactly the same. And exactly the same as Bones, and Esperoba, and Bakura. Because so many of the enemies use decks that are functionally the same, dueling is basically like one of those fighting games where all of the fighters have similar movesets, so it doesn't matter who you fight because it'll always be the same fight. So basically it's like Mortal Kombat. And every duelist deck being the same gets especially true once you get to the level 3 or 4 duelists, when everybody's deck is built out of Spear Dragons, Slate Warriors, Goblin Attack Forces, and Summon Skulls, generic high attack power monsters that do nothing except Hulk Smash. Then again, being monotonous is far from the biggest problem with this game. I said earlier that Yugi is a cheating bastard, and now it's time to explain why. Every duelist in this game has 5 stats. Attack, which tells you how strong their monsters are. Defense, which is basically the same as attack, and neither of those stats are particularly reliable. Strategy, which basically tells you how many effect cards they have. Intelligence, which is a joke. And luck. Yes, luck. Yugi has a luck stat of 5 out of 5, which means that the instant you get a good monster on the field, Yugi will immediately start drawing all of his best cards until said monster is no more. This makes dueling Yugi and Grandpa at the start of the game, before you have a good arsenal of cards, a massive pain in the ass! Basically, the game's luck system artificially makes some of the game's duelists oppressively hard, because the AI will automatically draw their best cards until you stop winning. Sound fair to you? Well, just wait, that's just the tip of the unfairness iceberg. So after I beat the level 1 and 2 duelists 10 times, I unlocked my first level 3 duelist, Pegasus, but no matter how many times I beat Pegasus into a pulp, I didn't unlock any more duelists. Eventually I figured out that to unlock the level 3 duelist, you have to leave certain cards out of your deck. You unlock Pegasus if you have no Toon monsters, you unlock Bandit Keith if you have no Machine monsters, and you unlock Mai if you take Harpy's Feather Duster out of your deck, which bummed me out because Harpy's Feather Duster is wonderful. Would it just kill the game to have a straightforward way to unlock the rest of the opponents? I mean, I beat the crap out of the opponents I have, I should unlock the next ones. Why do I have to decipher this cryptic shit to unlock over half of the game's content? After beating up all of the level 3 duelists, you start dueling the level 4 duelists, the Rare Hunters. And this is where the game starts to get maddening, because once you get to the level 4 duelists, every single enemy in the game cheats! Let me walk you through it. Every now and then Konami releases a card that's tremendously overpowered, and that card gets limited to only 1 copy per legal deck, or the card is banned outright from official play. In World Championship Tournament 2004, you are bound by these limit laws. The AI is not! Every damn enemy in the second half of the game has their deck stacked with 3 copies each of cards that are so overpowered that the official rules limit you to 1 copy each, like Raigeki, which destroys all of your monsters at once, or Dark Hole, which destroys all of your monsters at once, or Mirror Force and Torrential Tribute, which both destroy all of your monsters at once. Are you starting to see a pattern here? You're allowed 1 copy each of these cards, the AI is allowed 3. Hell, let's just demonstrate how annoying this little design aspect is by discussing the first Rare Hunter you fight, the Rare Hunter. This guy has a deck that's built around Exodia the Forbidden One, a monster that's broken into 5 individual cards. If you get all 5 Exodia cards in your hand at once, you automatically win the duel, so obviously all 5 Exodia cards are limited. The Rare Hunter has 3 copies of each Exodia piece, along with 3 Pot of Greed cards, 3 Graceful Charity cards, 3 Sangans, and 3 Witch of the Black Forest cards. And if you can't figure it out on your own, the Rare Hunter's deck is so broken that he can win a duel in 3 or 4 turns, all because the computer is a cheating bastard. Oh, and the other Rare Hunters, they all have generic decks that are built around nothing except for use brute strength to beat the enemy into submission. The only difference from the earlier enemies is now they cheat. The AI at this difficulty level literally does nothing except play a card that automatically slaughters everything on your field, attack you while you're open, and then do it again. They don't do anything except for abuse these illegal game-breaking cards to insta-kill everything you play. If I'm being honest, there isn't a great variety of strategies to implement in this game anyway. World Championship Tournament 2004 has the first 1,240 cards or so that were released for the card game, and I'll be blunt, most of the first Yu-Gi-Oh cards that were released suck, at least in relation to the second season cards. As a result, there are a lot of cards in this game that are of absolutely zero use to you, especially in a game where every enemy deck is built around abusing game-breaking cards. I could seriously go through every effect monster in this game and explain why roughly 80% of them are useless. Except, I don't think you want me to do that. It'd be very boring. But even though the strategies to implement in this game are a little limited, a good game designer would at least have been able to try! So I beat the Rare Hunters and Merrick several times each, only to hit another brick wall, and I couldn't figure out how to unlock any more duelists. After caving in and going back to the walkthrough, I found out the next duelist you unlock is a Shizue. Guess what you have to do to unlock her? Go on, guess. I guarantee you won't guess it. To unlock Shizue, you have to build a deck that has no magic or trap cards. A deck that has nothing but monsters in it. That is the single dumbest thing that a Yu-Gi-Oh player can do. Why in God's name would you even think of trying to do that, especially this late in the game? How are you supposed to figure that out? And the sad thing is, even with building a pathetic deck that has no spells or traps, Shizue is easy as crap to beat. She has no decent monsters. Her entire deck is built around using cards that increase her life points, and then using Fire Princess to damage you every time her points increase. Any moderately powerful monster can take down Fire Princess and immediately ruin her strategy. I'm starting to see why so many of the game's duelists have no strategy beyond brute force, because when the game tries to throw in a deck with an actual strategy, it's an inconceivably stupid strategy. The next duelist you unlock is Kaiba, and Kaiba's deck is packed with 3 premature burials and 3 monster reborns, both of which allow you to revive a monster from your graveyard. He just swamps you with monsters using those 2 cards until he beats you into submission. That's not a strategy! That's just abusing the fact that Kaiba doesn't have to follow the rules!
Screw the rules, I have money.
And I haven't unlocked the level 6 duelists yet because you have to do a lot of crap to unlock them, and they're all going to be the same cheaters I've already fought several times, so why bother? I don't want to play this game anymore. It's pretty sad that the only way this game can figure out to jack up its difficulty is to gradually make the opponents into bigger and bigger cheaters, to stack their deck with more and more limited cards that give them an unfair advantage. I swear the last time I dueled Loomis and Umbra, they played a grand total of 3 Raigekis and 3 Dark Holes. You know, those spells that insta-kill everything on your field. And guess what? The game's luck system is rigged so that your opponent immediately starts drawing all of their best cards the instant you get ahead. As soon as you take the lead or get a good monster on the field, the AI immediately draws a Raigeki, or a Dark Hole, or a Mirror Force, or a Torrential Tribute, and they immediately destroy everything on your side of the field, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if you aren't familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm not doing a good enough job explaining the cheating, imagine this. Imagine you're playing chess. Imagine you have the standard assortment of pieces, and your opponent has 3 or 4 queens. That's about what dueling these cheating assholes is like. I've actually thought about experimenting with a new deck in this game, maybe building a deck that's built around the last warrior from another planet, a monster that has an effect that prevents both players from summoning unless they play monsters in defense position. Since most of the decks in this game are built around brute force, the last warrior from another planet would shut down most of their strategies in this game. Maybe I could give him a fairy meteor crush to damage defense position monsters. That'd be a good combo, but I can't do that. If I build a deck that's built around the last warrior from another planet, then as soon as he hits the field, the AI would draw Raigeki and he'd be sent to the graveyard before I even know what's happened. And unless I load my deck down with counter traps, which could easily strand me with a useless hand, there's nothing I can do to stop it. Why bother having a strategy to get a good card on the field when all of the opponents in the game are packing cards that will immediately murder whatever I play? This is the only strategy game I can think of that's structured and made so poorly that it actually persuades you not to strategize. Because if you try to implement a strategy with any degree of complexity, it comes back to bite you in the ass. And if the cheating wasn't bad enough, the thing that really puts the nail in the coffin of this game is the AI. The AI in this game is pants on head retarded. Do you want to know the secret to beating every single opponent in this game? Use Imperial Order. Imperial Order is a continuous trap card that completely cancels out any spell card for as long as it's on the field, and since it can cancel out those Raigeki and Dark Hole cards that the AI throws out like Birdseed, Imperial Order is the key to life in this game. The AI is so dumb that if you play Imperial Order, your opponent will immediately play every single spell card that is in their hand, apparently not realizing that spells don't work. The first time that I used Imperial Order, I was dueling that damn rare hunter who uses Exodia. The rare hunter played Pot of Greed, and I triggered Imperial Order to cancel out Pot of Greed, and do you want to know what happened next? The rare hunter played Graceful Charity, which was cancelled out and did nothing. Then he played Upstart Goblin, which was cancelled out and did nothing. Then he played another Upstart Goblin, which was cancelled out and did nothing. By the time he did all of that, he had 2 cards left in his hand which he couldn't use, and you better believe that was a short duel. The AI is programmed to do 4 things. It is programmed to summon a monster every turn, it is programmed to tribute summon whenever possible, it is programmed to play spells and traps as soon as it draws them, and it is programmed to attack any monster that it can kill. The AI is programmed to do absolutely nothing else. I've seen the AI sacrifice a summoned skull to play another summoned skull. I've seen the AI not attack my face-down monsters because it somehow knows what my face-down cards are. I've seen the AI play Soul Exchange and then not actually summon anything. I've seen Yugi sacrifice a 1900 attack power Gemini Elf to play a 1550 attack power Morinfin. I've seen Pegasus kill himself because he played Premature Burial when he had 800 life points left. Premature Burial requires paying 800 life points to activate. How do you make an artificial intelligence that has no intelligence? How do you screw up Yu-Gi-Oh! This badly? I mean, I've played Nightmare Troubadour and Stardust Accelerator on my Nintendo DS. My friend Ben has Worldwide Edition on the Game Boy Advance. Those games are good! They have mostly intelligent AI, they have opponents with intelligently designed decks with actual strategies, and Worldwide Edition came out before World Championship 2004. Konami knows how to make a good Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, so how do they keep screwing it up? Decade duels? 7 trials to glory? Konami strikes out as many times as they hit home runs! How do you do that?! That's it, no more handheld Yu-Gi-Oh games. Let's try one on the consoles. Maybe we'll find a good one there.